Did Donald Trump just make the worst vice president selection in American history? Donald Trump's pick, Ohio's junior senator J.D. Vance, a former venture capitalist from San Francisco who worked for Peter Thiel. Here's what J.D. Vance previously said about Donald Trump. Trump is someone who doesn't offer solutions. He makes people I care about afraid. I might vote for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. Donald Trump is leading the white working class to a very dark place. Donald Trump is a terrible candidate. I'm a never Trumper. I don't think Donald Trump cares about any folks. I never liked Donald Trump. Trump is a demagogue. He's noxious. I can't stomach Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a reprehensible man. Donald Trump is a moral disaster. Donald Trump is a cynical asshole. Donald Trump is America's Hitler. These are statements that were made by Donald Trump's VP pick right now. So what changed? Well, when J.D. Vance was running for the Senate seat in Ohio, he quite literally had to kiss Donald Trump's ass. Donald Trump showed up in Ohio during the 2022 elections, mocked J.D. Vance for kissing his ass, didn't even say J.D. Vance's names right at some of these rallies. And then J.D. Vance did a complete 180 on his entire persona. He changed every aspect of his life and who he was. And then he came out and said that the biggest issue in 2024 is actually finding the truth of what really happened on J6th. And that's what he wants Donald Trump to focus on. J.D. Vance said that Mike Pence was actually not threatened, and he thinks that it was exaggerated. The threats to Mike Pence on January 6th. He came out against the Marriage Equality Act. He voted against IVF. He's been one of the most pro-Putin members in all of Congress in the United States Senate, perhaps other than Tuberville. You have J.D. Vance backing all of kind of Putin's agenda, and J.D. Vance says he doesn't care about Ukraine, supports nationwide abortion bans. We can go on and on and on through the list, but most significantly, he says the most important thing for a Republican in 2024 is to be full MAGA and to do whatever Donald Trump tells you to do. So on paper, he's probably the worst pick. Doesn't really add any states. He doesn't really touch upon any of Donald Trump's weaknesses, but he's somebody Donald Trump can control. We'll talk about this, what I think, hear what my brothers have to say is the worst VP pick, perhaps in American history. We'll also talk about Judge Eileen Cannon, the corrupt judge from the Southern District of Florida, appointed by Donald Trump. Trump lost in the 2020 election, which Donald Trump claims to this day that he didn't lose in 2020, despite losing by millions of votes and really just getting destroyed in the Electoral College. Well, Judge Eileen Cannon dismissed the Mar-a-Lago document case, saying that based on the appointment clause in the Constitution, that Special Counsel Jack Smith was unlawfully appointed, and the funds to Special Counsel Jack Smith were unlawfully apportioned. This is an argument that has been already addressed by the United States Supreme Court decades ago. This is an issue that has been fully resolved. Special counsels have been used over and over again in Republican and Democratic administrations. I mean, just think, there was a special counsel used in the prosecution of Hunter Biden, for example, recently. But Judge Cannon says she's just confining her order to Donald Trump. So special counsels, only unlawful in her mind when it comes to Donald Trump, and she dismissed the case. And while, of course, that's not a good headline or it's a horrific decision, will finally allow Jack Smith to appeal to the 11th Circuit. I have no doubt he's going to ask for Judge Cannon to be removed from the case. Ultimately, I think the 11th Circuit not only will overturn what Judge Cannon did today, I think they're going to remove her from the case. You'll recall some of our earlier reporting, which first broke from the New York Times, that the supervising judge in the Southern District of Florida, basically Judge Cannon's boss, although she doesn't have the ability to fire Judge Cannon because federal appointments are for lifetime. She requested that Judge Cannon recuse herself, and that presiding judge was a George W. Bush appointee, a real conservative judge. Everybody's embarrassed by Judge Cannon in the Southern District of Florida. I think the 11th Circuit, which overturned her twice in another case involving Donald Trump in 2022, they're anxious, I think, to get this appeal from Jack Smith. And Jack Smith already put out a statement that he's going to be appealing. I want to, of course, also talk about the shooting that took place at the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. More details are emerging about the shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old white male, registered Republican. People who knew him said he was conservative. Some of the additional information we're getting that was reported from local Pittsburgh news is that his family had MAGA flags and Trump signs at the home where Thomas Matthew Crooks lived. He was wearing Second Amendment paraphernalia of a gun club that Don Jr. had been photographed around as well. And again, it's still unclear why someone, a registered Republican whose family seems to be Trump supporters, and someone who's described as identifying with kind of those types of views would engage in this act. I just think it's important to say violence in all forms needs to be condemned. Political violence has no place in our democracy. And we here at the Midas Touch Network want to make it very clear political violence has no place in our system at all. I think I also want to make it clear that we're not going to gaslight our audience. What we've been doing here at the network is pushing back against statements that are threats to democracy. Doing that is not ratcheting up the rhetoric. It's calling out rhetoric. You can't both sides it. Well, I guess you can if you're the corporate media. Look, you have Donald Trump, who's been saying quite frequently that he wants to be a dictator. I want to be a dictator. I'm going to be a dictator for one day. I want to be a dictator on day one. That's not something you joke about. For those who go, oh, he didn't really mean it, or he just says he's going to be a dictator for one day. How do you normalize that? There's never been a time in American history where someone has run on the platform of being a dictator for a day or making jokes about dictatorships. Okay, Donald Trump has also said that the January 6th insurrectionists are hostages, and he says, release the hostages, Joe. Donald Trump's replaced the national anthem with a song by the J6th Choir, some of the most violent insurrectionists. Donald Trump has reposted QAnon stuff over 2,000 times. That's an actual death cult that spreads the most, takes over as a dictator. He will engage in public executions of his political opponents on Capitol Hill. And that's what they say when they go, the storm is coming. That's what that means. Donald Trump posts that over and over again. When Nancy Pelosi's husband was the victim of an attempted murder, Donald Trump's immediate post that day was a QAnon post where we go one, we go all was his response. And then throughout his campaign, he's mocked the assassination attempt on Nancy Pelosi's husband and has spread a unhinged conspiracy that and a disproven conspiracy that Nancy Pelosi's husband was involved in a secret homosexual relationship with the person who tried to kill him. And then Donald Trump mocks it and then mock Nancy Pelosi and would laugh at it. Donald Trump would also post a video of President Biden being like gagged and hogtied on the back of a pickup truck, and then the corporate media and Donald Trump would say, "Oh well, it was just a video. It was just a repost, and it wasn't saying anything. I was just reposting the video." And even at the Republican National Convention, they're giving away AR-15s for free in raffles, and they're constantly chanting "fight, fight, fight" over and over again. And after the shooting, Donald Trump looked at the crowd, he made a hand gesture, and he said, "Fight, fight, fight." Now, for a moment, Donald Trump was playing the media, which
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, thank you. It's early over here. I'm actually catching it on the back end because I was waiting all night, but then I got tired of waiting after 6 hours with the Republican National Convention. But as far as the assassination attempt, uh, I think it was real. I think Donald Trump was campaigning. He went to an open carry state, Pennsylvania, where some people like him, some people don't like him. And I think it's more so of a reflection of like this kind of split between Republicans. And, Donald Trump pushed a lot of Republicans out of the Republican Party. I mean, they're still registered Republicans, but when you look at the data, it shows that there's a lot more never Trumpers. Like in the beginning, I think in 2016, when Donald Trump ran, even though he didn't get the majority of the vote, he was still able to become president because of the electoral college. But there was like maybe a small percentage, 10% of Republicans, you know, influential Republicans that didn't like Donald Trump. But when he became president, he had 4 years to kind of show who he was. And I think he showed his ass. And that percentage of never Trumpers grew a lot since then. And then after he lost the second election with Biden, he continued the rhetoric and it grew even more because of the criminal accusations, the trials, people seeing the evidences and things like that. And I think this time there's just a lot more Republicans that don't like Trump. And yeah, so now if it was a conspiracy or not behind that, also, who knows? But I doubt very seriously it's what Donald Trump says, a Democrat conspiracy, um, because I don't think the Democrats are really worried because of the data. You know, without Republicans, without a good amount of Republicans, Donald Trump definitely cannot win the presidential election because those who would have normally voted for Donald Trump in number, not percentage, in number, they're probably going to vote for somebody else. Let's just say that. And yeah, so I don't think they would do these kind of things. But I do think there was maybe a lapse in some of the security. But as they say, the police were delegated that area, so it doesn't sound like it sounds like it's but look, was there a lapse of security on January 6th? They're supposed to be prepared at all times, no matter what, no excuses, right? So there could always be a lapse in security. Is that a conspiracy? Was it a conspiracy to not secure the Capitol building? Who knows? And I think that's what it comes down to. There's a lot of parts to it. Um, who's to say if all locals in Pennsylvania like Donald Trump? Who's to say? Who's to say the police if the police really gave a damn, if they, turned a blind eye. I don't know yet. I think you got to wait for all the information to come out. But I think the conspiracy theorists, the reason why I don't go for the conspiracy theories is because the conspiracy theorists always overlook the things that are right in your face. Like, he's 20, he's from Pennsylvania. He had that's an open and carry state. The weapon he used was legal. That's a political thing too, right? And the fact that he was a Republican that shot him, and a gun advocate that shot Donald Trump, and not just anybody. Not you. I don't know if you're a gun advocate, but it wasn't your typical Democrat that shot him. So I think the conspiracy theorists always have something baked in to the cake first, no matter what. And if it doesn't fit, then they make a new one. And the conspiracy theories about Donald Trump being assassinated, they started in 2017 while he was president. And there were conspiracies on both sides. Like, you had Infowars had two big ones. One where they said Republicans in 2017 would assassinate him to get the right riled up to attack the left, and others where the left would do it to, control Trump, to take the country back, and that would create a civil war. It's it's all over the place with conspiracy theories. So I don't go for them. Um, I say, whatever your theory is, start with the basics. Don't overlook the basics in your conspiracy. If if you think it was a conspiracy, prove it. Don't just go by what somebody says. Yeah, they say this and they say that, and they said yesterday that the dude over there in the left, back in the corner, had a wife that didn't show up that day, and then her son was supposed to be there, but she came and then flipped it around and then lied about it. It's like, you know, people just need to address, first of all, who was the person who shot him? Was it? Is this the is this the person even? The police shot him. So they shot somebody. But the conspiracy theorists will tell you, no, no, it wasn't him. They changed the body. You see what I mean? Then there's the other conspiracy theorists that are like, they nicked him to warn him. Look, I definitely don't think that was a warning shot. I think that was pure luck. I don't think it was God, because God would have saved some other people too. Um, I don't think also the Democrats are lucky that he didn't die, because that would rile up the right if he died. That would be like a real moment. So, do the gods protect the Democrats? It it's up to whoever, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I think it was a conspiracy, and I think the conspiracy was the right is split, the Republican Party is split, and they hate Donald Trump, the ones that split off. And these are proud, quote unquote, Americans too, that carry guns and believe in gun rights and believe in fighting for the Constitution. I think Donald Trump met what he put out, pretty much, from his own party. So that's what I think. But let's listen to some more Ben Marcellus. And thanks for the question, sis.
Carol,
Appreciate it.
for Donald Trump, it's always about
Yo, and glad to see a independent here also. That's great. That is great. We need more than just two parties, but we need reasonable parties. So thank you.
him. It's not referring to national unity. When President Biden gave an important speech this weekend, President Biden was speaking to the American people about unity, coming together, not living in our disinformation silos, just getting out and talking to each other and being Americans first. When Donald Trump uses unity, he's talking about himself. And he's talking
Oh, okay. Yeah, where am I from? Yeah, I'm from the U.S. I'm from D.C., Washington D.C., born and raised, and but I moved overseas in my 30s, right? Because I got kids over here. Been traveling a lot as a younger person. I used to be involved in some music stuff, and so yeah, so I moved and found out, got a chance to see how different things are. And the place that I live is like one of the places in the world where, in Europe, where if you have a child, you get a year off from work and it's paid. Um, Everybody has health insurance here. Everybody with a 9 to 5 job has a pension here. Um, Everybody, has housing insurance here if you lose your job. Or unemployment is, I think, up to 2 years here. Yeah, and the country I'm in Denmark. I live in Copenhagen. It's an ally of the United States of America, and they do a lot of trade with the United States of America, and it's on the Baltic Isles, and it's one of the places that is heavily contested because of the sea, because Russia has an outlet here, so they have submarines that can go through here. So NATO is very present in this region right now where I am. In fact, I went on vacation to an island called Barnholm with my kids a week ago, and you could see there's NATO military. They are present. You don't see a lot of them, but they're scanning. There's a presence all through the Baltic Sea. So yeah, but I'm born and raised Washington D.C., and I love the culture where I'm from. Um, and I'm so happy to be from where I'm from. But us Americans can definitely learn from other people too, and not just the places where there's dictators. We need to first of all learn from the people that we're allies with, because a lot of Americans, we don't know nothing about the lifestyle and the benefits and the way our own allies do it, which we're embedded with economically, security wise. Um, yeah, so that's. Oh, you from Chicago? Yeah, it's some. Yo, I know a brother from two brothers from Chicago over here. One of them live right up on top, right up on a few floors up from where I live. It's a lot of African Americans in the EU, and it's a lot of and culturally we tend to appreciate seeing some of each other, and we support each other over here too. So yeah, but Chicago's an international city. Let me see here. Michael Jackson said it a long time ago. Start with the man. Start with the man in the mirror. And you know what that means, sister? For me, it means let's start with yourself primarily, but then as soon as you step away and take another look, um, look for somebody else that looks like you too, or sounds like you too, that comes from where you're from too. And when you do, don't just look for them, don't ignore everybody else, but when you see one of those people like you that live somewhere else or have a different experience to share, be keen on listening to hear what they got to say, and vice versa, so you can get some information from somebody you can trust. You see what I mean? Because everybody doesn't have the same perspective, but I could tell you there's definitely a struggle. Um, and no matter where you live, we're still um, Americans. We still Black Americans, African Americans, whatever people want to call it. Because today, people, they want to argue about that, but we're still Black, and it still means something. It's not the only thing that means something, but it still means something. And that spirit carries on wherever we at, period. Like, believe that, like, 100% believe it, just like everybody else. And it's a good thing, because everybody has their thing. If we don't have a thing, we can't meet other people equally, and so although I deal with a lot of people, and I'm lucky to deal with a lot of people from a lot of places in the world, including the EU, they got a thing too, and they share that thing with you. So we got to have something to share also. And when you have something to share, it usually works out.
Talking about no accountability, and he's picked a vice.
Okay, but they right now, Marcellus, I just wanted to hear his take on on what happened on the speeches last night on the vice president pick, and also just the last 24 hours with this thing. So I'm gonna let it play just a little bit more. Let's see here. And thanks for coming.
Vice president.
Thanks for coming, sister. Also, I appreciate you, no doubt. You should hop up when you get a chance. Also,
In JD Vance is someone who will do whatever he says. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how the corporate media has been reporting on it. And I do want to say this, although perhaps it's slightly self-serving. I'm very proud of all of our correspondents here at the Midas Touch Network
Mhm.
for their coverage post debate when there was the media narratives there. And I also want to applaud the coverage as well by all of our correspondents about the
Oh, sister, maybe you can help me. I got a question for you. Anybody out there? Did Melania Trump show up to this uh to the Republican National Convention, or was it Donald Trump and his sons? Um, that would be a first if she didn't show up. I think for a presidential nominee to not show up with his wife, if that's the case, and because that apparently is supposed to be the centerpiece of the Republican Party think American families come first, you know? So where's his does he have a wife in his family? And keep another thing I noticed, they're challenging what a family is. There was a lot of discussion about transgender people. Now, I've had some. We don't talk a whole lot. I don't talk a lot about transgenders in general. I just say LGBT, right? And also, I use the word diversity, but not for LGBT. For me, diversity is a lot of people. It's also African Americans. It's also Trump. It's also these uh, yeehaw folks that shoot people like Trump. It's a lot of people. Um, but I realize a lot of people don't see diversity or liberal as meaning that they don't see themselves included in those words, right? But when I listen to the speech, when I listen to a lot of the speeches, I didn't get them all because damn, 6 hours is a lot. But when I listened to a lot of them, they brought up transgender people, and the example that they gave was being beaten up. Our girls shouldn't have to fight boys in schools. And for me, um, I'm more of a conservative, even though I'm a Democrat. I'm more of a conservative, right? I also don't agree with that. I don't agree uh, that men that have had sexual changes physically, men, these bodies that we have typically should not be matched up against women in a fight, in schools. Uh, I don't feel like that's typically right now. I don't think it's wrong for there to be necessarily for there to be shared bathrooms. It depends on where you are, or how people behave, right? I went to a shared bathroom just a few months ago. It was the cleanest bathroom I've ever seen. But they had stalls that separated. So you go in, and it was a long thing with a lot of different places to wash your hands and mirrors and things like that. And then behind you is a lot of stalls separated. And one person goes into one stall by themselves, and another person goes into another stall. um I didn't see that as an issue. um I do think it's okay for kids, girls and boys, to play together in sports if they choose to. But I don't see this professional thing and this really competitive level is working out well for transgenders, transgender people. That's where I think there's some issues. And I also think translating that language over to a lot of conservative people doesn't necessarily work. And I think that's where Republicans maybe focus on, but I don't think Republicans are focusing on it for the genuine reasons, because they tend to, if you listen to how they deal with everything, it's with an axe. Everything is with an axe. There's no nuances. There's no, and as far as I was concerned, my thoughts are like maybe they scapegoating the politics of it. I don't know a lot about the politics of transgenders myself. But if I'm correct, you have federal rights and then you have state rights. So I'm not even sure how states lose the right. So when Republicans are talking about running for the White House, I'm a little confused on if that translates to something statewide. And I think that might be part of the confusion, because just because you have a liberal president doesn't mean your state has to follow everything. I'll give you, or governor. I'm going to give you an example. The Biden Harris, they put out they passed a federal thing where you could get funding. It's optional. States could get funding for poor kids for their lunch program, right? Kids that can't afford it, for the lunch program. A governor who was Republican opted out of that program for the children, so they had a choice. And so yeah, yeah, we'll see. Uh, yeah, well, people watching for sure. I agree with you. Yeah. Oh, okay. You don't think? Oh, well, sister, for me, I'm when I look at Donald Trump, I think, hey, why not a lady? That's what I think. When I look at, I don't know. I mean, I think you if you don't give everybody opportunity, then they don't strive to be the best they can be. And I don't think men turn out to be any greater just because they're men in politics, because that's a, I think it doesn't require much muscle, physical muscle. Not to say that some women don't have a little more muscle than some men have. Some women are more fit athletically than some men. That's but I don't want my daughter feeling like she can't lead in a country she pays taxes in. I don't want my daughter feeling like she um, shouldn't do anything just because she's a girl. You know, um, and on top of it, I think it's in a country like the U.S. or in a lot of the Western world. You know, maybe a lot of the feelings are based on tradition, what has been tradition, and sometimes tradition is not always right. But yeah, but I'm for women. If you can be a better president, if you can communicate, if you're a better communicator, if you have more knowledge on a subject, um, I think it's all about your heart. What do you want for the country? How do you feel about people? So that's kind of how I look at it. Oh, well, I see what you mean. I think I get you now. And look at what happened. Barack Obama, I thought he was a decent president, to be honest. I thought he was a decent president, but he had the extra hurdle of having to be in war with right wingers who are racist, who have phobias against black people, who, if they see a black person, feel like the world's coming to an end. And some of those people, there's nothing you could do about it. Like, they would rather die than, you know, go through that experience of finding out maybe that they're wrong. And a lot of people found out they was wrong, because later you hear them talking about Obama gave tax cuts to the rich. Obama did this for the rich. You hear a lot of people saying that. I don't know if it's true, but apparently Obama wasn't as left as what a lot of people thought. Obama wasn't the end of the United States. 9/11 didn't happen on Obama's watch. It happened on a Republican's watch. That was George Bush. You see what I mean? George Bush was caught with the book upside down when airplanes was hitting New York City, the World Trade Center. Not Obama. You see what I mean? So people have had a chance to figure out that maybe that paranoia is not always justified. But people got paranoia against women. I mean, you know. But look, um, Obama existed. You survived it. You're on the internet. He didn't take away your internet. He didn't look there. I think Americans. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's some things Americans miss when it comes to because of the media, and that's the conversation about what's important. Um, because I think the media has a lot to do with what the conversation is in the U.S. And of course, the media outlets in the U.S. they try to hone themselves to fit inside of what they think or estimate Americans want to see and want to talk about. But I think the media should just stick to the facts and let people choose from the facts. I'll give you an example. Right now, the United States of America has the most expensive telecommunications networks in the Western world. Like you guys pay in the US, we pay like 10 times more. Yes, 10 times more on average than people in European countries for the same service, for internet, for cell phones, service, and that would save Americans about $80 a month. Some Americans, $120 a month. It depends on your service that you choose, right? But no political party is talking about that. I mean, they talk about it, but the media doesn't talk about it. Like if a let's say somebody says we need to invest more in our telecommunications infrastructure, or we need to put limits on on rates, how much they can charge. American businessmen say, "Oh no, that's foul. That's socialism. That's this and that." But if you're the leader in tech, why is that all your citizens paying more, 10 times more than anybody else in the Western world for something as simple as to have a cell phone service, to have access to the internet on monthly? Like you guys are literally in the US paying 10 times more than I'm paying for the same service. I got fiber optic uh landline internet in my home and I'm paying, what is it? Something like $20 a month for that. That's it for fiber optic internet. I'm paying $20 a month for 50 gigabytes of my cell phone service a month. Actually, let me see, 100, no, for 100 gigabytes. You see what I'm saying? A month. And some people, and I could get 100 for unlimited if I want amount of internet and cell phone activity. You guys are paying 10 times more for that basic stuff and nobody's talking about it. So I think a lot of times where people get into like, can a girl do it? Or, can a black guy do it, be president? Or, what about this? People get caught up on things and they skip right past all the other stuff they could easily accomplish for everyday people. So I view the media as being partly responsible for that because they know that other people in the Western world are having other basic conversations about um, Social Security, about communicate, simple things like that. Rent, how much your rent costs. They're having these basic conversations. Healthcare, they're having these basic conversations and getting somewhere where they're delivering services. Um, Telecommunications, much cheaper, same service. There's no, medicine. How much does medicine cost? Everything's running fine here, but for some reason Americans got to pay an arm and a leg for it just to have it. It's one thing to have a political debate about socialism or capitalism. It's another thing to just simply provide people a service that they deserve to have and that they can have, for a basic, simple price that's affordable and makes sense. But right now, man, I don't see that happening. They play with the pricing. The gas is always a fight. Energy do you don't want. I went to Arizona in 2019. I didn't see anybody with solar panels on their homes. I was like, what? What is this? The state not investing in solar panels, making sure everybody can get solar panels, because solar panels is cleaner than producing electricity on the river. You know, Washington D.C. got a electricity company that produces electricity, and that company and some other companies have completely poisoned the river for generations. People can't fish in the river. People can't even swim in the Anacostia River. You see what I mean? So I think in the US is some of the most basic things that could be solved always end up in left, right, you know, just fighting. You came up with a good idea, but I don't want it because it's you that came up with it. I think it's really that bitter in the US. So and as you see, that bitterness leads to things happening that are different than cheaper cell phone service, cheaper internet. And the things that happen in the US are things like this. This is cheaper than your internet service. This is cheaper than your internet service. You're gonna get that cheap gun, but you're gonna get high internet service. You're gonna get high cell phone bills. You're gonna get you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know. So all right, let me play some more of this. Let's see.
Truthful reporting that they've done following the shooting, where they've denounced in the strongest terms possible all forms of political violence, but that they've been fearless in their reporting to not turn it into this political narrative of why this is bad for Biden, because that's the instinct of the media all the time, and great for Trump, versus here's what's happening, here's the data. The individual was a registered Republican wearing Second Amendment power. Here's what we know about what happened. And then you have the MAGA Republican members of Congress saying Joe Biden ordered it. This is a leftist thing, which again is 100% false. Brett and Jordy, I want to welcome you to your show.
It's good to get the word in.
There's a lot going on. I know that was quite the long intro there, but I wanted to share at the top those thoughts.
Yeah, it was a rough weekend, and I just want to send just all my thoughts also to everybody out there in the Midas Mighty, because I think it's just kind of traumatic for everybody to see stuff like that and to see images like that, and to just the onslaught that we have day after day of everything in our political system. Quite frankly, it's tough. I know, like, I was absolutely drained all weekend from the images that I saw and from the discussion online, and quite frankly I felt that way since the debate and before. It could be exhausting. And so I want to give a huge shout out to everybody for hanging in there. Now, I think back to some of the words that I said on this show, man, a good amount of times over the past few months, which is like, the election hasn't really started yet. Like when I was talking back then, like, if you remember, there are going to be unexpected events that happen along the way, things that we cannot even predict or fathom at this point. And that could be in any direction whatsoever. And I think now in these past few weeks, we have seen at least a few of those moments that we could not have expected. And it's been quite insane. And I don't think that it's going to let up anytime soon. I think we're going to continue to see, a lot of stuff develop as we get closer to the election. Tensions are going to rise. But I appreciate having this, pro-democracy community that focuses on honesty, that focuses on the truth. And, huge shout out to our team as well, because we were working into the late nights all weekend to bring you all this coverage and doing all of our research, everything. And yeah, definitely have a lot to talk about this episode, but I'll first turn it over to Jordy to check in with you. How you doing, man?
Excited to get to tonight's show. I'm just going to dive in here and just say, like, how frustrated I know I am, and the Midas Mighty, I know y'all are too, from our interactions just with corporate media in general. It's like, look, while I appreciate the overall sentiment absolutely about everyone needing to take down the temperature, like, I still think you need to live in reality about where the heat has been coming from and not gaslight everybody. But what I've seen from corporate media these last few days has been downright pathetic. Like trying to equate legitimate concerns about a second Trump presidency, Project 2025, and people rightfully calling it out to the violent rhetoric from MAGA Republicans and MAGA politicians. Like, let's be clear. I unequivocally, like Ben said at the upfront, we denounce any form of political violence. Like, that is not the way. It will never be the way. But now the violence that we've seen, especially over these last 8 years, has consistently come from one party, the Republican Party. Like the shooter from over the weekend, he was not a Democrat. He was not an illegal immigrant. He wasn't an LGBTQ plus person. He wasn't an African American. He was a young white male, a registered Republican who appeared to be this big Second Amendment aficionado. So like this is a Republican on Republican crime where one Republican took a shot at another Republican with a gun that only Republicans think should be that accessible. The facts can't be understated. Don't gaslight me and tell me that it seems like the Democrats are involved.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's early. I'm muted myself. Okay, I'm sorry, sister. I'm gonna have to cut this one up. Cut out these little mute spots. But I agree. I don't think a felon should. I don't think Donald Trump is trustworthy. Number one, a felon or not, because let's keep in mind he had done all those things that pretty much a lot of those things. He had done those things already. So there's clearly a classism thing in the U.S. with who's allowed to get away with stuff and who's not, right? Purely, that's what I believe. And I believe you call that racism, and then in other cases that's gender bias, right? Woman shouldn't be president, and but then if you get the right woman, let's say if they just happen to find a woman like Donald Trump, she could be president with his views, overnight, you know. But sticking to the felon thing, already I think that's wrong. The United States, certain states for decades have stopped felons from even being able to vote, from having, they have the right to vote in the Constitution. It's a democracy, so you can't prohibit people forever from voting. There has to be, they have to be able to contribute to democracy. And the main way is a voice, right? You can't convict people for life of felonies, because a felony could just be anything, stealing a car. So now you can't vote for the rest of your life. That makes no sense. That's akin to like slavery, the slavery system, in my view, right? But I think it's really strange that in a lot of states, you still can't vote, but yet a person like Donald Trump could run for office. Why can't he run? He shouldn't be able to run. I think states should reject that. I think the federal government, that should be one of the places the federal government rejects it. If they're going to reject it, if they're going to reject felons from doing anything, then they need to reject it on that level also. And so far, they don't. Because you could do all those same things that any felon can do in the White House, right? So why not prohibit that there also if you're going to prohibit it in the states? But I think it's just part of the hypocrisy. I think the country could do better. I think the media doesn't focus enough on that. Of course, that's not the only thing that needs to be focused on. There's a lot of things, demands every single day, period, that could be, you can find ways to do things better, to make things more fairer, to also lift everybody else up in a more fairer way, and without polarizing people, making people feel like, oh, if you get this, then it's coming from me and I don't want to pay for that. When in reality, you're living in the richest country on earth, probably the richest country that's ever existed. The US GDP is $26 trillion a year right now, and it's risen $1 trillion for every year in the last 20 years, period, no matter who's president. That's how big the U.S. economy is. Like you hear Joe Biden say, it's too big to fail. It's big, you see. You really have to work hard at breaking it. And I think they like to, through politics, convince people that the country's broke. But when you compare it to other countries around the world, the GDP to the debt, and what they're carrying, what they're doing with that GDP and what they're doing with that debt, the US does a whole lot. So I think a lot of stuff is politics again. And the felon thing is something they could have taken care of a long time ago and just said, this is the one job. Look, if my kids, if you're not born in the United States of America, but you're a citizen, you cannot run for the office of presidency. Why couldn't they do that for just that one job for a felon? If you're convicted of a felony, you cannot run for the presidency of the United States. Why couldn't they do that? They could do it on one hand. If you're not born in the United States, they could say you could be a citizen, but you can't run for president. And I'm okay with that myself. But the felon thing, I think you should exclude all felons from jobs, all types of jobs, state and federal, or you shouldn't do that. You need to find another way. So I think what they should do is, if you served your time, if you served it as a good prisoner, then you should be able to. But let's be honest. Donald Trump, he hasn't even served his time. The Supreme Court want to give him more immunity for things he was charged with. So again, it's always this monkey wrench to make it unequal again or unfair. So yeah, I think when it comes to civil rights, we got to keep it basic, make sure there's penalties, but everybody have a right to redeem themselves if they go through the process of redemption properly. I think Americans should be able to choose, and I think when you have a horrible record like Donald Trump or history, even in the civil cases, also the state cases, when you combine those things, you combine the fact that he took, no matter what anybody thinks, he took top secret information files in the thousands and brought them to his home and left them in his toilet and invited a whole bunch of people over day after day after day after day after day. Why is this man running for anything? He should be in jail, if you ask me. Once he goes to jail, and once he's, in jail for a while, a long time, and gets out being a model prisoner, and also accounts. The key thing is cooperate with investigators. If he cooperated, maybe give him another chance, but he did not cooperate at all. Why the hell is this man running for the presidency? So there you go. That's my look on it, Oh, I'm in Chicago and it's Mexican people still living in front of the police stations and playing them one by one in housing. But you still have people that's been homeless for years. To me, it sounds like it's bad politics. And if you ask me, it's the polarization. On one hand, they're there. But on the other hand, we can't do the same things for regular people. Right. How come in the US there's no, 2 seconds. Yeah. 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 How come in the US, all of these things when it comes to basic lifestyle have never been addressed? Let's remove the Mexicans sleeping on, getting housing and all of that. Why, out of all the Republican parties and Democratic parties, have they not been able to cover the basic needs of the Americans? It's because there's always one party that doesn't want one to have equal housing. Always. There's always a party that doesn't want everybody to just have universal health care. See, in my view, if you start off with the basics the right way, then you can go into, you came into the country the wrong way. You shouldn't have it. You did this the wrong way. You shouldn't have it. You committed a crime and you're not from this country. You can't qualify for these things. But instead, what they do is the opposite. They start off by denying Americans social benefits. And then they go to the other ones, start looking at the people that aren't citizens and the people that are migrants and start pointing at them and saying, how did they get this? How did they get that? So you can't have it both ways. And I think that's part of the polarization. You can't point the finger at one group of immigrants and say, why did they get this? When you're not voting for Americans to get this in the first place. And I think that's the problem. I think that's where the problem comes from. And I think the problem is racism, to be honest with you. When I look at other NATO nations, because they're not so diverse in population ethnicity, they're very homogenous, right? Meaning mostly one ethnicity, one look, one type, right? They seem to have universal health care knocked down the box long time ago. They seem to have cheap internet knocked out the box long time ago. They seem to have paid education knocked out the box long time ago. And then if you're a newcomer, then they find out if you qualify. But the US don't do it like that. The US doesn't want the average citizen to qualify. And then when they see that some other people found a way to get it, then they look at them, So I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but I just think if you start off with the basics for everybody, then after you can go in and say, wait a second, you shouldn't have actually got this because you are not a resident. You are not a citizen. And it really is like that around the world. Where I live, all residents don't qualify for state pension or program. They have to have private. A citizen can have has the state one that taxes pay to, and you also pay into a private one too at the same time. Um, a resident isn't guaranteed all that. A resident is guaranteed basic health care. A visitor is guaranteed basic health care. But after they fix you, if you're a visitor and you're not a citizen or a resident, after they fix you, the emergency part, so you don't die on the street, you get sent back home for the rest. They have different ways of managing it, is what I'm saying. And it can be managed better. But if you look at the US media, they're not even talking about countries that manage it differently. So Americans have the TV, but they have no contact to other countries' policies. They don't get to see how other countries do it. So I think, it's something like that going on. But I don't want to blame everybody for it, but it's more important to know that there's a lot of missing information in the media. It's not important to who's to blame, but it's important to know that fact first, and then you make changes based on how that becomes problematic. But I think in the US, they focus on whose fault it is first, and then they also don't get nothing done. You see what I mean? I think the US has that history is primarily, I believe, based on racism and classism. There's some gender elements there too, like women weren't allowed to vote forever for a long time or own property. And now today we still don't have the first female president ever. That will be somebody will have to be the first to take the heat for all the other ones that come after, literally, before it becomes normal that a woman or a man could serve in the White House or It was the same with the Supreme Court at some times. There had to be a first female Supreme Court. What year do you think that happened? I mean, that's almost sure to have never been a old thing. And then it wasn't in the 1800s. It wasn't. I'm pretty sure it wasn't in the 1800s, 1900s. I think that's 20th century women being on the Supreme Court. And I mean by 20th century, 19 something something. Yeah. So I think you got to really have a lot of changes before things become easy sailing in the U.S. But for what the U.S. has, don't let anybody tell you your country is not a country that a lot of people will want to live in under Trump or Biden. And it will be like that as long as the GDP is $27 trillion a year. Because it is probably one of the only nations, if not, China would be up there, and that's almost it. You see, so the United States is a success by all means. Why the everyday person historically has not gotten a part of that? But a lot of other people that are allies of the US, they're getting a lot more out of their GDP, the everyday people. I don't think it's something you're going to get your way out of by pointing the fingers and being polarized. And I think that's how bad it is in the US because there's been a lot of bloodshed. And a lot of people don't want to stop that kind of fighting over who lost the Civil War and who won it. Which I really interpret a lot of the conversations that's going on with the Republican Party being, look at the Republican Party. They didn't want to take down Confederate statues. Why is that? Why do so many people want to hang the Confederate flag? Why is that? What nation on earth are you allowed to hold a Nazi flag up in? Not in Germany. You're not allowed to hold the enemy's flag up in too many countries. So I don't understand that, I really don't understand it. Who's supposed to pay for those things? If you fought against my human rights, which the Confederacy did, I don't want to pay for none of your statues. Why should the federal dollars have to? Why should any state dollars have to? Why, there's a lot of old things that needed to be done that just never were addressed in the US, Yeah, but okay, I see here. You say you're not voting for president anymore. Hey, then don't complain. Period. That's my view on it. Nobody can have their cake and eat it too. In a democracy, even if nothing changes, if something does change, it's partly connected to that vote. So my suggestion would be vote. Vote for yourself if you don't like another candidate. But don't give up your vote as a woman or a black woman. If you're a black woman, no, don't ever give up your vote because you may as well start giving up everything else from there. I mean, why do you want anything out of the tax system if that's the case? Why don't you just pay taxes and get nothing and be happy with that? Because that's what women had to do for a long time. That's what black people had to do for a long time. So I would never give up something free, which is a vote. It might be some contradictions in voting. Sure there are. If you're a descendant of slaves, there's a contradiction because the country still hasn't paid reparations. Of course. How can you be in the world talking about equal rights and fairness and everybody have a fair shot at the same time you never cleared up that history? That's a shot at both parties because they both do that. But the senselessness in me, therefore, because of that, not wanting to vote, I don't get that. Voting takes 10 minutes. People are going to spend 10 minutes, getting anything else, gas every week. and you will spend 10 minutes voting once every, for president once 4 years. I don't get it. But in any case, let's go on. Break room. What's up? Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, but let me flip it up. Yo, break room. Did you see the Republican National Convention? Did you see anything? I had to stop because I waited for like 8 hours, and I was like, then finally I was like, is this man never coming out? And then they had a we're gonna have a pause, and then it came back. It was 6 hours, 7 hours, and then they were like, we're gonna have a pause, and I was like, wait a second, is there something I'm missing in the planning? And then I guess when I cut it off, then he comes out. But did he make a speech? Donald Trump? Did Donald Trump make a speech? If you know of, because I sure as hell can't find it. I believe it would be everywhere on the internet if he did. And right now, I'm only seeing the man walking around in his suit. Here we go. Let me try this one. This Sky News. Let's see this.
Want your video to stand out? Go to motionarray.com.
Here we go.
Gentlemen, please welcome Lee Greenwood.
Hello, RNC. Is there any doubt who's going to be the next president of the United States? Prayer works. This nation based on faith. Prayer works. Because he was sure, as Donald Trump turned his head just slightly, that the bullet missed him
Hello.
just enough to save his life to be president of
Let me
the
see
United
something.
States. We have believed for so long
These
that God
people
will make
do
some
not have a
changes
way
in
with
this
words.
country.
That
He's
I can
about to
say.
make a
You know,
change in the current
I don't know.
administration and send
This
them
guy's like,
home.
he's in a song talking about it sure is Donald Trump turning his head. But this is the faith-based stuff. They're not talking about the fact that somebody wanted to kill his ass. It's like, what is this? It sure as he turned his head. Leave it up to God, y'all. God's gonna save it. Guys, they never heard of something called luck. I mean, just every time you have luck, is it God? You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm cool with it, religion, and I think it's personal. People have the right to that, and I never talk about how I pray or those kind of things. I don't talk about it publicly, and I don't even care to. I don't even see why people do, right? But I'm like, yo, what the hell, yo, dude? It's like. Oh my God! Oh, Adolf, hold on. I go back and forth between thinking Trump is a cynical, whole like Nixon, or that he is American Hitler. Please, come on now. Yes, yes, that's exactly how I feel. I don't feel any contradiction in that statement you made, Adolf. And what we gonna do? What we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know. Oh yeah, the VP did say that. Damn, that's right. The VP said, "Thank you for reminding me. This is the best the Republican Party got, yo. Think about that. Hold on. Let me pause this shit. Hold on. I'm sorry. That is the best the Republican Party got. Is the vice president is the one who's called you Satan, the devil. Don't ever, ever vote for this man. He is the scum of the earth. The world will come to an end, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, he's running for vice president, and I wouldn't do it for anybody else. No other man on earth. This man right here is number one. He's number one in my book. He's going to save America, y'all. He flipped his tune. What do you think it was? You think it was a little scratch my back, I scratch yours? They refuse to run with a black man. Yo, man, and listen. What black man would you want to run with them? Do you want the black man that said black Americans should be paying reparations? Have you seen that? I don't know why this is not just, I have to upload this to StreamYard, but that was a cold fact. What's that dude's name? Mark? I can't even remember. Robinson? Donald Trump endorsed him. Reparations. Donald Trump endorsed him. He spoke at the Republican National Convention last night. This man, look at this.
Hey guys.
Check this out, y'all. This is him. This is who could have been one of those black men.
Somebody.
Look, he's gaslighting you.
We'll talk about it.
Some people that were talking about reparations in this country. They wanted reparations. And I remember I made this particular liberal so angry at me because I told them right to their face, nobody owes you anything for slavery. If you want to tell the truth about it, it is you who owes. It's you.
You want that motherfucker to be the vice president? Oh, hell no. Hell to the no. As a matter of fact, anybody saying that in the United States of America that is black, first of all, I could understand Trump saying it because he's a pig. You know what I'm saying? But this dude, one of your own, I'm starting to ask, do this dude come from the United States of America himself? And look, y'all, don't get it twisted. A lot of these MAGA people that you hear, how they talk, you would assume they must be American, right? You would assume their ancestors must have been around since 1776 or before, right? Yo, don't ever think that. As a matter of fact, if you get that thought in your head ever again, that these MAGA people, just because they MAGA, their ancestors been around since 1776, I'm talking about the biggest mouthpieces of them all. You ever get that thought in your head again?
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out. That's when
It is not the case at all. A lot of these hustlers are hustlers. They're hustling the American dream to people. Just think about it. Just think what a hustler would do. A hustler is not just selling something, material. He's making you pay for it more. That's what a hustler does. You see what I'm saying? And these people, they're hustling the concept of being American to people in votes, trying to get your vote. But you don't get that thing because why? A lot of them really, their families really have not been. Tucker, hold on. Before I go with that, what's this guy's name? He's an asshole, I swear, but he's one of the biggest ones. Trump been on his show a whole lot, all the time. You know him. He's one of the most annoying bastards ever. Excuse my language, y'all, for y'all that aren't used to that, because I'm also not used to that. But when I talk politics, woo, some of these things really, really, really bother me. But look, this guy's name, who is he? He used to be on Fox News. This dude, Sean Hannity. You take a guess. How long do you think Sean Hannity's family been in the United States? All that shit he been talking. He's always promoting, Trumpism. He's always talking about our founding fathers this, our founding fathers that. How long do you think he been in the country? You think his family was around in the War of Independence? You think his family was around during the Civil War? Nope. He's a second generation American. Ain't that some shit? And he's the most nationalistic talking dumphead on earth. Let me show you who I'm talking about. Just because I can see y'all don't see who I'm talking about now. This dude, Mr. Hold on. Where's Sean Hannity's asset? How did it change over? It's early over here, y'all. I'm sorry. He's coming up. This dude, Sean Hannity. You see Sean Hannity, right? Mr. America, right? Here we go. Mr. America. He gonna go out there and talk about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and all of this shit, right? Where's he at? This dude. He's second generation American, and you would think the way he's talking, like his family shed some damn blood. He should, you know what he should get?
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out. That's when.
He's an insult. He's an insult to America. He's an insult to the United States of America. And anybody, it wouldn't occur to you to just go find out where is he a citizen? How long has he been around? Where did his family come from? The way he talks, it wouldn't occur to you to even do that. But just Google it yourself. Just Google it. Dude and I'm not dissing second generation Americans. I'm not the one saying that most Americans aren't immigrants anyway. Most Americans are immigrants. But if you're going to talk that shit, shouldn't you been it? My family been around since the beginning of the country, and I'm not talking that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's them. It's people like him talking that shit. And yet his family just second generation. Does that make sense, y'all? Does that make sense at all? And this is what they're promoting on TV. That man, Sean Hannity, got promoted on TV. Where do we start? Where do we start? This is, so again, I don't want to focus so much on, you have to acknowledge what mistakes are getting made when and by who. There's no need to generalize it. It's more important to be accountable, right? But I'm not into whose fault it is. I'm into what mistakes are being made. And the mistakes can be made all over. So why don't some politicians admit when they made a mistake or when they signed a bad policy or things like that? Have you ever heard Trump admit to signing a bad policy? I've heard Biden admit to signing a bad policy. After just 30 minutes from the events in PA, J.D. Vance blamed Democrats for the actions of a 20-year-old pro-gun Republican. Exactly. He didn't even know the dude's name, but he blamed the Democrat. Yo, it's baked in the cake. It's baked in the cake. See, no matter what happens, that's what MAGA is about. Blame the Democrats. And I'm not saying the Democrats are perfect at all. No, that's a whole different another conversation on its own. But the Republicans, they ain't shit right now. I mean, they stank right now. By the way, y'all, let me just bring this up, and thanks to everybody for joining me. And because it only is what it is. So I'm happy to have you all and have your thoughts. But check this out. Let me see here. Let me go back into the history. And do I do that over here? Right, history. And I want y'all to see something since you're here. And I want to get your views on this because this is very interesting. They're going to have some new polls after this convention, right? Now, check this out. This poll was done.
Okay, guys, let's.
Let me turn that down. This poll was done, if I believe, was it the, hold on, let me skip here. It's going to say it. Okay, let me bring that back. Here we go. Right. This was done in the primary. This was done after the primary, this poll, right? And this poll is Republicans only in this, right? That they ask these questions to. And they're going to do another poll probably right after it's going to be released from this convention, right? So this one was from the primary where they asked Republicans different things. So take a look at this, what they say. And if you got some data to refute this, please come with that data. But I don't think so. This is some really comprehensive data here. So remember I told you, hustler, baby. I'm going to hustle that American dream. I'm going to be a dictator for one day. And then I'm not going to be a dictator. I mean, why do you have to be a dictator at all? Where is that to get anything done for even for one day? You know, why don't you just get it done like everybody else gets or doesn't get things done by talking to them, reaching across the aisle, trying to take care of common interests first. Everybody should have a need for health care. If you have a healthy employee, you have a stronger employee that can be more proficient at work. So why wouldn't that be just automatic? If you're first for families, then why don't people get some time off? Because they're your employees when they have a child. If you're for values, that means the mother and the father can be around the child at the most beginning, have more time to handle that. American families are working so much. How do you teach your child your culture when you have to work all the time? When you spend, how many hours do you spend with your child after work? How many hours do you spend with your child before work? Where do you think the culture is supposed to exist if the families that work, the parents that work have no time, right? The families are supposed to have time. People that have children are supposed to have time with those children. That's a universal thing. That shouldn't be Republican or Democrat, right? It's a lot of things that I think just ain't happening that should be non-starters. Like, why talk about all this stuff if we haven't even cleared these basics? I agree with that somewhat. I don't think everybody should understand why the U.S. fights for other or involves itself in other cultures, in other nations, right? Wars. But that's a different conversation. But don't fool American people into thinking that it's because of that there's no money. No. So there's a gap in understanding what's going on. The US GDP is a monster. American corporations, they are a monster. I don't mean monster in a bad way. I mean, like, at any table, when the United States shows up in any conversation on earth regarding business, technology, military, it is in a class by itself and only rivaled by China, only, or its EU allies, its NATO allies. But they're not rivaled because those are smaller nations. You see? So the US benefits from dealing and working with smaller nations. That's why the GDP is so high in the first place. But $26 trillion, $1 trillion added to the GDP every year. 50 billion is nothing. 100 billion is nothing, y'all. You know, that 2 trillion infrastructure project, people crying about that, like that's going to break the bank. No, the bank is only broken in the US because of politics. You know, think about this. The money was there to pay for the federal government's, the employees. The money was there. The question that the Republicans posed, or the issue, the conflict, is that they said if we don't get this, and this, that has nothing to do with the federal employees' budget, income budget, salaries. They said if you don't take care of this, and this, then we ain't even going to sit down with you and talk about paying our bills to our own employees, to our own, police, to our own security, to our own whatever, different, what do they call it? What is board, school, the school board, just every aspect I forget. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just waking up. But they played this kind of politics. The money is there. The problem is the fight over who has the right to get some of it in the United States. That's how I view it. It's not about the fact that everybody can't get it. I believe everybody can get whatever they want in the US, and that the corporations know that, the politicians know that, and a lot of the corporations are involved in the politics, and a lot of the media is involved. I mean, a lot of the politicians are involved with the corporations, and on both sides, and a lot of the media is involved with corporations. The news media, the journalistic community is involved in the corporations. I think that's the problem. The basic money sharing is the problem. Not if there's enough money. It's that because you are like this, this, and this, I don't want you to get none. It should just be for me. And how that translates into everyday conversation is through hustling and lies, like Sean Hannity, the founding fathers, and he's a second generation American, talking about somebody else who's been here longer, who's, it's like, it's just bad politics, so toxic politics in the US. And I think that's what we're saying. But back to this. This is the data that came out of the Republican primary. The Republicans are split. You heard him talk about Jan 6, right? Let's bring that back. Trump said something about Jan 6 hostages, right? But check this out. Now, and the issue that you heard come out of that is security. Who's to blame for the security, right? Donald Trump was the president, right? I mean, he was still the president. Right now, Republicans are blaming Biden for the security breach. Biden's the president. See, this is the basic hypocrisy in it. More people, public citizens, police were in danger. Elected officials, police, and regular everyday people, visitors to the Capitol, were in danger. Donald Trump was the president, and these same people don't give a damn. But if the rabbit has the gun and points it back at Trump, the same people, the Republicans, say Biden is the president. He's responsible. Let's all just remember that. You can't have it both ways. So it's obvious Trump is a hustler. He's a hustler. I mean, think about it. Businessman with no real expertise. His basic expertise is buy these tennis shoes, they're $1,000. Buy my book, it's a $2,000. Let me, say my property is worth this much on paper, and so I could get a little scratch under the table from the bank and run the debt up on the building, and then when it's done, I'll just file bankruptcy. I mean,
To vote.
okay. And I'm gonna let it play some more, but what did Trump mean when he said, is there anybody in the room that's not voting for Trump? Don't tell me, it could be dangerous. What do he mean by that? What does he mean it could be dangerous? That is insinuatory, essentially, putting out the idea that it could be dangerous. And a hustler never wants to be held accountable for what he says. So the way he's going to say it is always going to be the slick way. So when you catch him, he can say, oh, but I didn't mean that. That's not what I meant. You didn't listen to me. I said a gram costs this much. And I didn't say that it was going to be pure. That's what Trump does. That's his whole thing. Look at this. These polls were taken. Look, this is not a long time ago. This is the Republican primary. So this one was produced about 5 months. So it was roughly 5 months too. Let's see. That was New Hampshire, right? That was done in New Hampshire. So the Republican primary, February. So we talking February period. And that is the data from Republicans. right? From the primary earlier this year. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what the results, because they're going to, obviously, they took data here at this convention. They asked Republicans, news media will ask, and, different agencies will ask certain amount of questions. They're not all like media. Some of them are just poll firms that want to analyze the poll, do the polling on it, analyze voter sentiment. Even in the Republican Party, there can be differences, and so it's going to be interesting to see what they thought this time. But all in all, what they're saying is that Trump has lost a percentage of Republican voters to get a certain demographic of other Republican voters, and but that still he lost the election because of that. Before, he alienated a lot of Republican voters, and this time around, he, now that the information has come out about some of these trials and what his activities has been, and he's had the opportunity to answer to them, and people are able to see like these answers don't add up. Even if he gets away with these things, it doesn't mean he didn't do something criminal. That if I did, I would be in jail. Absolutely, you would be in jail, no doubt, if you were Trump. That's where the immunity comes in with the Supreme Court. But they would not come for immunity for you, American citizen. Best believe that. Never. You see what I mean? This is a special privilege they're giving to Donald Trump, a privilege that they have never given any other president ever. So just think about that. Is that something you're okay with? And when you're not okay with that, what are the things that you do to change that? Do you wait and think that, hey, well, if we just let global warming take its place and the sun burn up everything, that, hey, that will solve that? Do you wait? Because that's going to take some time. There's going to be a lot of suffering while you wait for that you will be watching while you're waiting for the end. That sounds like a slow death. Do you say, hey, let's launch a nuclear bomb and just destroy everybody? That will solve the problem. Do you do that? Or do you do something more refined, like vote, make sure his ass never gets in office for another 4 years, so that the criminal accountability part can play itself out? Also, speed it up. Also, in the next 4 years, make sure that you deal with the Supreme Court in general. Not that this ruling is the only thing that's troubling. Clarence Thomas was accepting gifts. He's not supposed to do that. In the millions. There are corporate gifts that have some political, from people that he's made judgments on cases that involve these persons and corporations that are giving him the gifts. Do you want somebody to do something about that? Because if it was you would be in jail. You would be in jail, American citizen, if that was you. If you had done what Clarence Thomas did anywhere else but the Supreme Court, you would be fired, in jail, barred, a whole lot of heaping hooping things, But again, how do you deal with something like that? Are you going to say, let's just launch a nuclear bomb and that will solve it? Everything will be destroyed? Or do you say, wait for the sun and global warming to destroy everything? That's going to take a long time. Or do you do something more refined, like vote for a party and demand that they do something about that on the federal level? Vote for Congress people and senators that demand you do something about that corruption on a corporate level. On the Supreme Court level. And the election finance, you see, so Americans can't have their cake and eat it too. You can't say I'm going to live in a democracy and pay taxes, and I don't want to vote, because the taxes you pay are based on who you voting for. Absolutely no question about it. Just like every single thing else in a democracy, you know. Anyway, yeah, let me see if I can find something about Jesus, Trump again. Let me see here. Republican. Oh, you know what? Let me see here. Did they find out anything new about the shooting? Trump shooter. Let me see if there's any new news on that. That's 1 day ago. No, 9 hours ago. 9 hours ago. Okay. Let me see. That's 17 hours, 9 hours. Okay. You can see apparently in the larger media, but let me do this. Let me type ABC. I don't think there's new. I mean, I'm not saying major media is going to have anything on that yet that's any different. But yeah, shooter attendee reportedly killed during. Okay, yeah, whatever. This is old, obviously, right? So let me go with 9 hours ago. Is it the sidebar? Let's see here.
This AI.
Yeah. Hopefully there's something. If you know any other reputable, or not reputable, but fair outlet, at least to get the facts straight, let me know.
Take a look what happened.
It is a horrifying and tragic crime that will go down in American history. The apparent attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump that left 1 dead, 2 injured. What we know about this reported shooter and how on earth could this have happened? We bring on law enforcement expert and former sheriff's deputy and SWAT team member, Chad Ayers. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. This shouldn't come as a surprise, but we don't cover political stories here on Sidebar. We get enough of that on the news, right? We talk about
Janie, sorry about that. I was on mute. I see Janie Spitfire. Yeah, they said, I see that now. I'm just Googling something. They say that there's been 3 arrested, but I wanted to find a video on that, but let me just go over to that real quick. And let me see. I want to see where else. This is an ABC outlet. I don't know. Can y'all see this? And let me see. Okay. 2 seconds. I'm gonna see if this can be in reading mode. Okay, hold on. Or is it read aloud? Okay, I can't do that. So here, let me just let me read this for everybody. Okay, it says here, I'm gonna drop the link also to the article. Here we go. Let's see here. Okay, I'm gonna blow it up now. Let's see. So I hope y'all can hear me. If it's on mute or something and you can't hear me, let me know. It says here, Donald Trump supporters, protesters come out for his Pittsburgh events. Town hall at Soldiers and Sailors Hall in Oakland by campaign rally. David O. Lawrence. Hold on. Kenan Hooper, Lisa Coulier, and Maxwell Yerrick were arrested outside of a Donald Trump rally at the David Lawrence Convention Center, Pittsburgh. A Donald Trump rally Wednesday evening drew a crowd of thousands of David L. Lawrence Convention Center, to the David Convention Center, and hundreds of protesters who gathered outside to downtown venue, chanting, waving signs. As Trump supporters filed, now wait a second. Yeah, now Trump supporters filed out at the end of the rally. The two sides engaged in heated verbal confrontations with supporters chanting USA and build that wall. And protesters shouting profanities. Police and riot gear separated the sides. Okay. Arrested were Keenan Hopper. Now, so this doesn't have anything to do with the assassination, right? Attempt, right? Just to make sure, I just want to know before I read through the rest of this. Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, thanks. This is Pittsburgh. This is not the same location, right? So, but it's all good because it's news. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know about this. I'm just catching it now, so I appreciate you for real. Let me see. First, they charged an error marked Violet, but he was on a vacation in Italy. Yeah, well, they got to arrest some people first. They're gonna make some errors, but I would suggest arresting a lot if you suspect to figure out who you should let go. But in any case, let's see here. Let me read the rest of this. Arrested were Keenan Hopper, 31 of West Oakland, Lisa Coulier, 27 of Polish Hill, and Maxwell Yerrick, 29 of Perry South, who police said were charged with riot and aggravated assault. Hopper and Yerrick were also charged with resisting arrest. Public safety spokeswoman Emma Schaefer said that there were some minor injuries, including 4 police officers, all of whom were cleared by paramedics at the scene. Among those hurt was an 18-year-old Trump supporter who was observing being led to an emergency medical services van and receiving treatment after he was pepper sprayed in the face by a man his friends identified as a protester. One officer was sprayed with pepper spray by a participant later identified as Hopper and kicked in the back of the knees and hands. As the officer moved in to arrest Hooper, Coulier jumped back on the back of one of the officers. Coulier was then arrested without incident, according to the statement from the Public Safety Department. Another male, later identified as Yerrick, attempted to fight an officer, and began grabbing the protective vest after he was sprayed with pepper spray. Another officer attempted to arrest Yerrick, but he resisted and pushed away. She fell to the ground and received injuries to the hand. All right. About an hour before the rally, Trump held a town hall with Fox News at the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Hall in Oakland. Long lines formed outside the building for entry to the free public event. I think he has a great tax plan. Who the hell is it? Hold on. Let me see something. This country is only as strong as the weakest link. Let me go back for a second, y'all. Now that I have some of these names, I'm just going to throw those in to Google. Let me see what it says here. Boom. Hopefully that does something. Okay. Now we're going to go back. Okay, that wasn't good. Pittsburgh, 3 arrested. Let me see here. Okay, so what do they say? He's Antifa? I mean, Antifa exists. Anti-fascists exist, you know? Here we go. Let me go to APT News. Maybe that's a little better. Let me see. I like them in any case. So let's just see here. Can you get this? I want to get this to play. So I can sit back and listen too. But it's not going to let me do it on this article. I don't know why that is. All right. 32-year-old Keenan Hopper, 30-year-old Maxwell Yerrick both pleaded guilty Monday in alleged. Oh, okay. So what time? This happened before the Trump thing? Okay, well, in any case, nobody was hurt. It sounds like, you know, it's a minor incident. Nobody was killed. Yeah, rally, but the Butler, PA, they think too. Oh, really? Hold on. Let me just go back here. Let me put down my coffee cup 2 seconds. Hold on. Now, let me see here. Pittsburgh brawl. 3 arrested. Okay. Here we go. 3 arrested. What? Is it here? No. This is all kinds of other stuff. Let me see here. Oh, Pitts. I'm sorry. I spelled that wrong. Trump. Where was it? Trump. Trump. Oh, I spelled this wrong. I'm all messed up today. Let me see here. Pennsylvania. Yeah, I mean, I don't see the. Did somebody get shot? Totally not connected. Oh, okay, that's what it. I don't want to put down any information. You know what I mean? Like, but listen, Antifa exists. MAGA exists. Are they equals? I don't know. You know, I don't have any affiliation with Antifa. I'm not a member of Antifa. I've never looked at their I've never researched Antifa, to be honest with you. Just to be honest. I've never seen an Antifa president, right? A person run on that platform. MAGA, in my view, is like a platform, a political platform. Like they got money flowing into them, and and the president says MAGA, make America great again, So I think it's not as big as a problem as Trump makes it out to be. I'm not saying it's not a problem, but or it can't be a problem. But if I'm talking about a hustler, talking about anything, I see hustle in all of it. For example, Trump himself his family wasn't even in the country during the War of Independence, Civil War. His family came decades and decades after all of that had occurred. So when he has a party that's quoting constantly 1776, you have people like what's that guy, Sean Hannity, talking about this, promoting these things. Sean Hannity's family is second generation American. You see, I see a lot of hustle in that. So I'm pretty sure whatever he's saying about somebody else that he doesn't like, there's some hustle in it too. You see what I mean? That's how I look at Donald Trump. So, and he's been after Antifa. I mean, if you ask me, look, this is the man we're talking about, as a matter of fact, just to remind people, right? This is who you're talking about. Bing. We're talking about this man here. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We talk about the dude who's on Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs a whole lot. We talk about the guy who said Jeffrey Epstein was a great guy. I've known him for 15 years. This is who we're talking about when we're talking about anything like his platform, MAGA. 1776. This is who we talking about. Make America Great Again. This is who we talk about. Antifa is a problem. Black Lives Matter is a problem. This is who we talking about. I want to make American families great again. This is who we talking about. Make America first. This is who we talking about. We talking about that dude. We're talking about this guy. And the guy that he said was a great guy, He said he was a great guy, likes him young, was on his flight logs a whole lot. What are we supposed to believe about this guy when he says anything? He's a living contradiction. You know, I almost want to talk about MAGA party more than Trump, because Trump, why the hell would they even select him? He's a hustler. But Project 2025. You know, Project 2025, yeah, I'm scared of it. Again, they talking about families, but you're anti-family every other day of the week. They like to define family as being something that they want it to be. They really believe that it's like only certain types is included in family. For example, if you're a black woman with children and the husband's not there's no husband, there's no father around for whatever reason, and it could be any reason, right? Why isn't that still a family? If a child goes to school and has problems getting clothing, food, lunch, because of their parents don't have decent jobs, or for whatever reason, why can't there be a school lunch program just for everybody? And then you decide if you want it. And if you don't want it, they don't spend money on it for you, or for anybody. They keep that money or save it or give the money back if they don't use it. I mean, you know, why make people pick and choose what a family is? Why not just say, hey, you got a kid, you got a house, you're a family? Why not just draw the line there with the children? You know, so they say a lot of things, but when you see, they only mean some types or certain things. They don't mean everybody. And I think we got to get to the point where we mean everybody to stop the fighting, just everybody. And if you don't want it, it's voluntary to not have it. But we know that it's not a perfect world. We know that everybody doesn't have the means and the ways to get everything all the time. And so we're going to step in just to make sure we fill those gaps so that we can have a better America. I mean, let me see something. I don't want to just go on and on, but let me see. Antifa is anti-fascist. There's no leadership. It only means you oppose fascism. Yeah, basically, that's how I see it. You know, until people go in to show something else is going on, you know, I don't even think about Antifa, to be honest. I don't think about them. I've never seen a person standing next to Biden going, Antifa, Antifa. I never seen them. You know, I only hear Republicans talk about Antifa. Scary times are coming. Yes. Yeah, 2025. I think that should be on everybody's mind. We should actually go through the whole thing. And I did go through it. It's going to take some time, and I have it. I have that plan. You know, as a matter of fact, is it still up on this here? I can't go through it today right now, but I'm going to go through it again. I think it's tomorrow. I will, right? Where we could take a close look at just that, what that means. But I think it's bullshit. I think it's scary. Let's keep in mind the same people that we're talking about here is literally like the tiki torch, right? We're literally talking about this, you know.
everyone that this video includes.
But it's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen.
Who speaks? Our streets! Who speaks? Our streets! Who speaks? Our streets!
I'll hit you, hurt you.
We are on your side. Don't make us go against you.
Understand the side. Pick the side.
These are our streets.
$20 a picture.
I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so. I hope so. Because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states to recertify. And we become president, and you are the happiest people. Mike Pence is going to have to come through for us. And if he doesn't, that will be a sad day for our country. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
Cruiser 50, it does look like we're going to have an ad hoc march stepping off here. There's a crowd surge heading east.
We love Trump. 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 We love Trump.
Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up for the good of our Constitution and for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now.
Get back, ladies. Get back, ladies.
Priority. We just had protest. Peace circle. Breach the line. We need backup.
Madam Speaker, the Vice President and the United States Senate.
We're going to get riot warnings.
Yeah, this is Jan 6 footage. This is the footage from that day, you know, just to remind people, like, this is what we're talking about. This is who is running for office. This is Donald Trump and MAGA. This is what it is, you know. And if you want to see more of this type of behavior, in my view, you vote for Donald Trump. I'm not saying everybody's just going to sit down and bow down and, you know, be different the second time around, you know, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It can't be lawful for one group politically or in any, you know, for one group to be able to do this and it be lawful and expect that other people cannot do this also. Just like the law, the Supreme Court ruling, it was, you know, it was to give Donald Trump, or the quote unquote the president, more immunity, right? For acts, quote unquote, and we know we mean, like, you know, all kinds of acts, right? It can't be good for one and not good for the other. So if you agree with this behavior, then you must agree that everybody else in the country can do this. That's what you have to, even the left. If the MAGA can do it, then you have to agree that everyone else should do it too. And then what do we have? Then what are we going to have if you're for it? Now, me, you know, my family is from the United States from its conception. You know, both sides, both parents, lineages. You see what I mean? There are different ethnicities that came to the United States of America, or America before it was the United States. Ethnicities that came before the country was founded, and there's ones that came after. You see, there's ones that came later in time, and I'm all good with that. I don't have an issue with that. That's what it is to live in the world. That's what it is to be an American, not just United States of America, but all Americans, South, Central, North. So I don't have any issue with that. That's our common history. But there's certain groups that came there and founded these countries, and then there's certain groups that came later. So I'm a descendant of people that came early. So I never thought I could behave like this. But now that I see this, should I think that being American and fighting for my rights this is how we're supposed to do it in Washington, D.C.? I'm from D.C. Should we do it like this in D.C.? Of course, we ain't crazy. We're not stupid. Just because many of our ancestors were slaves, that our families were ripped apart and brought to America before the country was founded and fought in these wars of independence. And also other people came, indentured slaves. But that wasn't Sean Hannity's family. That wasn't Donald Trump's family. Donald Trump's family did not come to the United States of America as indentured slaves. Neither did Sean Hannity's. But some of our families did. Slaves, and did all kinds of slaves, whatever you want to call it. Founded the country, just like some aristocrats came and founded the country and fought in wars, right? They had the War of Independence. Then they had the Civil War, right? Should we, the people that really did in reality have something to do that, should we behave that way? Because I could tell you, all of these people didn't come into their families don't have all that lineage. Don't assume that. We've been through that already. There's very few of them, the talking mouths of the MAGA movement, whose families were around at that time. No, you got it twisted. White supremacy doesn't mean your family was around in 1776 just because you're a white supremacist. No, it doesn't mean that. You see, all Americans that were around, whose families were around in 1776, are not tiki torch folks in 2024. And a lot of you wasn't down with any side. You know what I'm saying? And it's ridiculous. Oh my goodness. But in any case, yo, it's not funny, but you have to laugh at the ridiculousness, and we have to point the ridiculousness out. The facts. Ain't none of these people ever said what their ethnicity really is. They didn't say if they were Italian American or who most of the time. I mean, really, that's a sign that you came much later. It is. That's part of American history. Or if they're of British descent or African descent or French descent. Or you see, there's certain ethnic Spanish from Spain. Yeah, there would be some of them, but they fought their war. So a lot of them, they stayed in the South now. The French and the British in the North, and there's others too, but there's very particular, there's groupings here, so all Americans with European descent, just because you have that, it doesn't mean your relatives came in 1776 or before, or even during the Civil War. No, many, and most come after, like Sean Hannity, like Donald Trump. You see what I'm saying? So we have to be cautious when we listen to these people talk about America, you're replacing me. No, you're fucking replacing us. But just let's get the us correct. Some of you are hanging in there, ain't keeping it real. You trying to hide amongst a few that was around, that's families was around, and pretend like you're being replaced when you're doing the replacing. Woo! I'm sorry, y'all. Let me drop the link. Jesus, because I'm sure some of y'all got something to say. Because you know, I know one thing for sure: no matter when your family came, it's not an excuse for stupidity. It's not an excuse for racism. It's not an excuse for bias against women. It's not an excuse for a whole lot of shit. Even this, you don't choose who somebody else is. I'm a live and let live kind of guy. You see what I'm saying? But I'm also pro family. But how I see pro family is different than MAGA sees it. I see pro family as everybody with a child, the government should be down with supporting, period. So that they have a home, so that they have access to education, so that they have access to health care, so that they have access to food, so that they have access to clothing. Those kind of basic needs. You know, that's what I'm for. Everybody that has a child having that security. Whether you give the security to the parents or you give part of the security to the children. I mean, I live in a country where, children is getting money because, when it comes to issues about our parents really using the child money, because everybody where I live in Denmark. I'm an American citizen, born and raised, but I live in Denmark as a grown man. My kids are here. But, they have conversations about this stuff all the time. But whether you're rich or whether you're poor in this country, you get child money for every child you have. Yes. You see what I mean? And if you don't want that child money, you don't have to take it. You can give it back. But I'll guarantee you, most people accept it because it's just built into the system. Just like in Norway, everybody gets a check for that oil. How come that's not happening in the U.S.? The U.S. is at an all-time high with oil sales, right? It's producing more, I'm not saying I'm talking about what's in the ground, but it is producing and selling more. It's an oil megalith. It's like, how come everybody doesn't get a piece of that check? Or it's not like oil, grows on trees. Once you deplete it, it's gone. But it's a natural resource. It was in the ground. You didn't invent it. You see? Whose oil is that anyway? Is it the people's oil? Or is it the corporation's oil? Whose country is it? Is it the people's country? Or is it the corporation's country? So I have a different view of family, but I'm not oppressive. I'm not saying I'm going to go out and kill somebody that doesn't want those things for themselves. But I'm just saying, why don't we make sure everybody's covered? And if you don't need it, you don't have to get it. How about that? And I also accept you in your belief to not have it yourself. You see, so I'm a live and let live person. And most of my views on policy is like that. Just because I don't prefer something for myself doesn't mean I'm going to deny someone else who feels they want that for themselves. And I want that person who doesn't want that for themselves or wants that for themselves to respect and support me and what I want for myself. You see what I mean? And I think the United States of America is the most powerful country in the world. It is a powerhouse on the stage. There's no stage ever. Don't believe Trump when he says, Europeans and the world is looking at the United States funny. No, they're not at all. That's not even plausible. The United States is a superpower and still probably the most powerful nation that's ever existed on earth. You are respected even with a bum like Donald Trump. They just respect you differently. Like, oh shit, the ogre is walking in the room. Well, better how do I react? Do I shake his hand or do I avoid him? I don't know, because either one could turn out bad. Or Do you have someone with his brain screwed on that just says, hey, man, as long as they're not going to launch rockets at us, we won't launch any at them. you know what I'm saying? How about I don't know. I don't want to say get into foreign policy, but I do agree with some of the policies about, I haven't heard anybody suggest this, maybe Obama a little bit, but I'm not too sure why the United States of America and Canada are not a lot more friendly with South America. I think that's a foreign policy blunder, but I think it has historic roots. Like we have been, playing a role in the past in South America, and we don't always support. A lot of times we support our corporations in countries, but we didn't follow up with the civil rights of the citizens in those countries where we have our corporations. And I think that's what's been going on. That's kind of the history. But today we need to engage and find out ways where we can bridge those gaps, because at the end of the day, they more like us than anybody else, right? I mean, South America, Central America, North America, we all have that same history of colonials coming there, slaves being brought, or not slaves, but Africans being brought there as to be slaves, others being brought there as indentured servants, others being brought there as all kinds of stuff, as masters of the land, able to own all the spoils and give it back to the crown, until the War of Independence started in South America, spread to North America, the islands, things like that, right? So we have more in common, our food, our cultures, even though they might sound a little different. No, when you go around these places, you start realizing like, whoa, this shit is a lot like what we doing. They just got a special little twist on it. I think we don't handle all of our foreign policy right. I don't mind that our country is involved in wars. People want our country to give them weapons a lot of times. Have you heard about that? A lot of countries fear China and Russia. Have you heard about that? So, that's a real thing. But I think what we don't do enough of is normalize relations with South America and Central America. And you need very good diplomacy and good diplomats and good orators that can do that can bridge those histories and kind of, tie people together, make people see that they're more alike than different. And so therefore our policies should be more supportive of each other and more refined also, yeah. So in any case, did I drop the link? Anybody want to show up? Yeah. Anybody want to hop up? You can hop up for a few minutes. I don't mind a little bit of chat. You know what I'm saying? Right now, what time is it? Okay, it's 12:30. Yeah. So I got like maybe something like a half an hour more. But any thoughts on if there's any new information about what happened with the assassination attempt, if they found more people involved. I'm not talking about unsubstantiated claims though, because we're going to get to that. But there's been unsubstantiated claims even before his ass was shot. There was conspiracy theories in 2017 about Donald Trump getting shot. There was conspiracies about the right doing it to start a war. There was conspiracies about the left doing it because they're afraid of blah, 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 long before. So, maybe the substantiated information would be good. Yeah, but let's watch more of this, because we saw the Republican National Convention, and the people that were down with this, they're voting for Trump. They were represented in that National Convention. MAGA! They had Mark Robinson up there, the black man, lieutenant governor now, I believe, who says that who says that, oh, it's so terrible, who says that Black Americans should be paying reparations. But let me play this. See.
Yeah, we're out of here. We're going to give riot warning. We're going to try and get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot.
49 hours declaring it a riot.
Cruiser 5 to 50 be advised, Capitol Police 1 advised they're trying to breach and get into the Capitol. Yeah, copy.
Hold the line! Hold the line! Hold the line! Hold the line! Hold the line!
42. We're about 5 mics out. We're trying to make our way through all this. We have a breach of the Capitol! Breach of the Capitol to the upper level!
Jack, be advised they're requesting additional resources on the east side as they've broken into that window and they're trying to kick it in.
Without objection, the chair declares the House in recess pursuant to Clause 12B of Rule 1.
My kids didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. U.S. demand bring out press.
This is where I have to interject. See, this was represented at the Republican National Convention. I'm not saying they showed this image. I'm saying that the people there that justify this were there voting for Trump. But how can you hold this up with the history that we have in the United States of America, political history of this? How can you hold this up and expect someone not to do this to you too? Like, again, I didn't know I had the right to do this as an American citizen, as a person whose family is been here since the founding, even before the nation. Yes. That's before 1776. I didn't know as a citizen of the United States of America that I could do this, that this was my right, and that an elected official would support me in that. Because had I known that, I don't think I would do this. No, because as a Black person, I should be offended by this. I should be offended. Not to say other people didn't get hung. That's how they hung their criminals. But there's just something special to a Black person, American, about a hangman's rope, yo. Like, flat out. There's something a little, no, I'll take the gun. I'll take the gun over this. I'm not hanging nobody. I ain't with all that shit. That's too personal. That's too personal. Way too personal, bro. Like, what the hell? Like, are you enjoying the hangman history of the United States of America or some shit to bring this shit out? Like, what the fuck? You know, this is just, does an American do this? Is this even American contrived? Did somebody go to some dumbass and whisper in the ear, you know what would be a good idea? some Russian coming, Russian spy whispered to MAGA, yeah, man, and make sure on that day you have the hangman rope too, because that's really going to divide the nation. Yeah, that's got to work. Bring back political violence. This is political violence. Now, they didn't catch him, but do they have to catch him for this to be political violence? Because this is hate speech. This is also mental violence. Threatening someone in itself to hang them, to murder them, is that not a crime? Is that not a crime? And also, who was the president when this happened? Donald J. Trump. So who's responsible for the lapse in security? Wouldn't it be, according to MAGA's and Donald J. Trump's supporters, according to their theory about Biden being responsible for the shooting, right? On the ear, the assassination, he's responsible for the security, right? So who's responsible for the security on January 6th? See, the United States is like I said, the most powerful country on earth, really, and probably the most powerful country to have ever existed in the history of earth. We're supposed to be way more sophisticated than that with our thinking, because we have the means to be, we have the technology to be, we have the systems to be. Why are we producing dumb motherfuckers like this? Why? Why are we paying 10 times more for internet and cell phone service than every other European nation? What the fuck? Every other NATO nation. Why? These are the questions that make you go, Again, if Biden is responsible for the security lapse, the lapse in security when Trump had his ear nicked off, then isn't Donald Trump responsible for what happened on January 6th? It happened under his watch. He was the president. He was in charge. And in this one too, did he condemn the hangman? Did he? Did Donald Trump ever denounce the hangman rope, the call for the death of Mike Pence? Did he ever do that? Think about this. Who built this and who hung it up? And were they standing in front of Donald Trump's face on January 6th when he gave his speech outside? Did he meet with these people? Inquiring minds want to know.
You never sprayed another American that will fight for you.
Hey, Johnny. Hey, Andrea. Hey, Pumpkin. It was a long night last night. I was like, I didn't even know if I missed the shit or what. I just closed down. But apparently, if I got it right, Trump never spoke last night, right? Donald Trump never spoke. He just got nominated officially. But did he get on the microphone and speak? Did he make a speech? I've been trying to find it. Where's the speech at? Where's the speech? I wanted to hear incendiary comments from Donald Trump that everybody's expecting, you know? Okay, he didn't speak. Damn. No speech. This mother. Because I was waiting. That's the whole point of yesterday. I had the nerve to think he was going to. That's a hustler, baby. You know? That's what hustlers do. You know what I'm saying? You had folks waiting around, you know what I mean? Like, okay. But he endorsed somebody. So he spoke that part, right? He spoke through a Zoom speech. Oh my goodness. Let me go find that. This is damn. I could have done that. Look, if anyway, let me see. Let me try to find it. Donald Trump. Yo, drop me the link. Send me the link to that if possible. Donald Trump endorses Zoom speech. All right, let me see. Does that come up? Okay, Donald Trump announces his running mate. All right. I think I just saw a circular. I never saw him speak. Hold on. This ain't even it. Man, we saw this. This ain't him and doing it. That's not. We already saw that. I want to see him say something. All right.
Abroad. There would be no wars.
Ladies
there wasn't
and
any when
gentlemen,
President Trump
please
was president.
welcome the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again. Just my children and my wife.
This man got some nerve. You hear the song? If I had to start again with my children and my wife. Where's your wife? Donald Trump. Should Americans support your kind of family? I mean, where's your lady at? What kind of household is that? You know, we don't know what's going on in there. And I'm quite sure whatever kind of household it is, it's the type of household that is okay with this. Bing! Right? This is my best friend for 15 years. He's a good man. He likes them young. I mean, is that the alternative lifestyle you want to support? Oh, shit.
Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, because the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away.
Oh, wait a second. What did they just say?
To be living here today, because the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away.
The flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. Only when it's you. You know, see, that's the thing about it. He wants the flag to mean something different for him than it means for every other person. You know, that's the problem with his type of patriotic, his patriotism. It only applies to himself, because if it was you, he ain't for it. He's not for you being a tax fraud. He's not for you taking top secret, shit home to your toilet. Imagine that. Imagine, I mean, he's not for that. He's not for anybody, to be honest, except it seems like a very narrow group of people, felons, if you were a felon, do you think just you as an everyday American, you would ever get close to that White House to even be elected? Because you need billions of dollars to run for office these days. How many people you think got $1 billion? And even the one that got $1 billion needs a couple other people with $1 billion on their side too. So, does that mean he's for the same type of America? Is the Supreme Court going to change the law for the average citizen to make them immune from prosecution for shit they just had to do to survive? Nope. If you had no money and walked your ass into the grocery store and grabbed a pack of meat, beef, the best beef in the store, or worse, whichever one, some water, some juice, a gun, because your ass is out on the street, you're going to need one of them too, because the shelters ain't shit. If you had to do what you had to do just to survive, are they going to make you immune to prosecution? No, because the lower class has no immunity. The middle class has no immunity. You are to pay for your crime, and we don't give a goddamn why you did it, because there's federal mandates. What about the federal mandate on his ass? None. Zero. They're not there. He's immune now. And Biden's also immune if he wants to find out, because obviously this is a new president. So there's got to be a first and a second before it really becomes president. You know what I mean? Right now, Donald Trump's the only one that's tried it. Nobody else has really tried it. But anyway, they got this music is like, let me just go ahead and clown the music. Yeah. An American, because my family came here late. But I'm a big time hustler, and the rest of y'all just ain't great. Cause when I say make America great again, I just mean it for me. I just mean it for me. Sing it. All you others, take your place. Get the hell back up out of my face. I'm Donald Trump. And I'm getting.
We are here tonight for one purpose, and that is to elect Donald J. Trump as the next president of the United States.
Oh, hell no. I'm here for the purpose of not electing him. You know what I'm saying? And we can talk about the others, after we decide that.
Anybody who tried to kill him, you will not take this man down. He has the courage, the strength, and he will be the next president of the United States.
Hey, look, a 20-year-old man with no money, probably flipping burgers, went out with a lawful weapon. This one, he went out with a lawful weapon, an open carry state. You don't need a license because this is rural Pennsylvania. This ain't Philadelphia, y'all. And he took a swipe. Now let me ask you. He came damn close for somebody without $1 billion, no training, no, flipping burgers. He came damn close. So if I was Donald Trump, I wouldn't be bragging. Yo, Pumpkin, what's up?
Hey, you know what? He did talk, but it's somewhere in there before he came out. He was on the screen. He said it was only for like 10 minutes, maybe at the most. It wasn't a lot. He talked.
Okay, well, I'm trying to find it. I haven't seen it.
Like, go back a little. Go back a little.
Go
you
back
gotta
a little?
go slow. I mean, it was so quick. You really gotta go slow to do it.
I think they don't want to show them who. I need the link because I keep trying to find it and it keeps starting there where he's walking down the hallway. Here, let me try this.
They might have cut the video. Who knows what these people did?
Yeah.
It was before
yeah.
he came out. Before he came out, I kind of dozed off. I might have missed something though, because it was kind of towards the end.
Yeah, not kind of. It damn sure. It was 8 hours in, man, and we had to wait. Come on, look. But you know what? I guess we got to find it. Hold on. Hold on. Is it this one? Donald
I
Trump
think
give? No, that's a year ago. No. I don't know what the. Let me see something. Let me just go through the major ones. CNN, maybe CNN
I'm gonna
has it.
see if I can find it. I'll go out for a minute see if I can find it because I know he said so. It was so damn quick. They might have took it out of the video by now, especially CNN. Ugh, I can't stand them.
It says here it is. Oh, hold on. Oh, this ain't even CNN really. This is the dummy CNN that they said let's call ourselves CNN News instead of CNN. Trump appears. I think this is a right wing thing. They probably gonna get sued in a year from now, taken out. They won't be able to use it. But Trump appears booze for McConnell. Yeah, McConnell got booze. We saw that though yesterday. McConnell's old ass gave his votes to Trump and they booed his ass for it at the Republican National Convention. I mean, McConnell, he has no spine. He's spineless, shiftless, and he's been there the whole time. So
his spine was damaged. He had polio, and he got the results of polio coming back on him.
Oh, really? Oh, because
he had
well, he
polio
must
when he
have.
was like 7.
He must
he
have.
couldn't walk. He was in the lung and everything.
Well,
The iron lung. That was
he's got polio. He's got polio of the brain, because that's what I'm talking about. His
No,
brain
seriously
didn't make
though.
him say nothing.
They
really?
get cured of polio and then it comes back. Because when I was growing up, a lot of kids had polio. I mean, you see them today, and the next morning, my grandmother used to tell me, "Don't go to the bathroom in nobody's house. Come in the house to go to the bathroom if you gotta go. Don't go." I couldn't go in nobody's house. I couldn't do none of that. Polio was real bad when I was growing up.
But why? Listen, Pumpkin though. But why did Why did he give his votes away and just for people to boo him? Like, that's what I'm
I don't
talking
think
about.
he
What about
expected
his ethical
that.
character? What about his ethics
I
and
don't
his
think
morals?
he expected that. I didn't expect him to do that. I didn't see that part because it
He's
was
dumb.
already on for like
No,
2 hours when I came in.
he is spineless. If he didn't see that coming, that's how they've been treating him the whole time. This McConnell is the perfect example why you should only allow a person, if they get you one time on some disrespect. All right, okay, we're gonna see what's up. But if you let them do it again and again and again, that's McConnell. All right, let's see here. Okay, Donald Trump announces vice president during the Republican. He actually spoke. Hold on, let me hear this part.
March. And we now know who will be running alongside Trump as his choice for vice president. Trump choosing Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his running mate. Security at the RNC a top concern after.
Forget it. That wasn't it either. When's he going to speak? I don't know.
Wait, I'm gonna go out. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
I'll be
Okay.
back.
Thanks. I don't. This is weird. You would think that would be like everywhere. Let me see here. Trump's speech at National Convention. Sorry. Convention. Let me see here. All right. Where is this at? They keep coming up with first. Is this the analytics doing this? Whoa. Is this? Oh, this is 7 years ago. Trump. This is how Trump came out 7 years ago. Look at this shit. He came out strong. Like God. Trump appears at RNC. All right. This one is not it, obviously. I don't know. Well, don't worry. I'll be back. I just wanted to see if that would be readily available, and apparently, folks haven't. The news cycle maybe just hasn't. Maybe it's coming out soon where they start critiquing his speech. I saw Ben Marsalis critique his speech, but that was it. And let me see, Trump convention, yeah. Anyway, folks, I'm going to time out for a minute. Thanks for joining me again. I appreciate it. But as you know, this conversation is not going to stop. This is the news, the most relevant thing that you might want to keep up to. If it's not your kids, if it's not your day-to-day personal welfare, then it's this. Because this is whatever happens with this convention, whatever happens with the election is going to affect your life one way or another, for sure. Absolutely. If you are a citizen, think about this. Think about the message you send when you don't vote, because a lot of times people are saying, that they don't want immigrants, and they're saying that they don't believe in the system, but they're complaining about the system. People are saying they don't, they want, people, a lot of people are saying all kinds of things, but what's the point in saying what you don't like and you're a citizen, but you don't vote, but then someone else wants to be a citizen so that they can vote? What's the point in that? That, to me, that makes no sense. So you got to make a decision about how you want things to be. And if you don't want to vote, in my opinion, you don't have the right to complain. You have the right, the civil right, to talk. But isn't it kind of a waste if you have the civil right to talk and you use it, but you have the civil right to vote and you don't? Like, it seemed like that might be, you might want to look into that a little bit more. Yeah. So there you go, folks. I appreciate everybody. Donnie, Pumpkin, obviously, Andrea, Jane Spitfire, welcome to have you. Breakthrough was here also. Agolf Twitler. Yeah, thanks for your insight also. All of y'all's insight. And Keep It Cootie was here also with Imza. I'm gonna have to see who this is, but I appreciate all of y'all. Be good, and we proud to be Americans too. We just don't see eye to eye. But what's good for the goose must be good for the gander. So are we all going to have the same rights as Americans? Are we all should the standard be that we all storm the Capitol when we don't like something? Because I didn't know it was that easy. I didn't know that I could not pay taxes and be okay and run for president. I didn't know that. Damn. Somebody failed me, and if that was the case. So we should either teach all of our kids as Americans that you don't have to be accountable for not paying taxes, or we should teach them that you do. Right now, Donald Trump is teaching that you don't. If Joe Biden is responsible for the security lapse during the Donald Trump assassination attempt, even though it was a Republican, and it took a shot at him, then isn't Donald Trump also responsible for the security lapse on Jan 6? Can't have it both ways. So let's decide what way it's going to be this November. But before we make that decision, let's have some real conversations about what is and what really does happen. Yeah, that's all I can say. Peace, 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 peace.